Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all to the first panel discussion of CCMB Open Day 2021 celebrations. As we all know, last year we had this celebration in virtual mode due to this pandemic. And this year also we are going online, and this whole thing is conducted in virtual mode. We hope next year we will be able to conduct this again in physical as it used to be. So I am Korup Chakraborty, and along with me, my co-host Justus Francis. We both will be moderating the session of this panel discussion. So before commencing this session, I'll just update a few instructions to all the attendees of this meeting. So I request to both the panelists to keep their video and audio on during the whole session. And for the others who are attending through Zoom meeting, please keep your videos off and keep your mics on mute for the smooth progression of this session. So the topic of today's panel discussion is how to become a scientist, which personally I feel that it's a very relevant and very important question that arises in the young minds, especially who are on the verge of deciding which career path to choose and who are eager to choose research as a career option. So to discuss on this topic with us today, we have Dr. Shaikat Chaudhary, who is a senior scientist in CCMB. And along with him, we have Zeba Rizvi, who is a senior research fellow in CCMB. So Dr. Shaikat is a structural biologist. His research mainly focuses on how the different cytoskeletal elements work together inside a cell. With the help of cryo-electron microscopy and many other new methodologies, he has done breakthrough research in the field of structural biology. Zeba is a senior research fellow in CCMB, and she works in the research area of infectious diseases. Her research interest is about studying the cell cycle and its regulation in Plasmodium falciparum, which causes malaria, and how this cell division is regulated by the different cell regulating proteins. So it's a pleasure having both of you here with us today. I'm sure this discussion will be fruitful and enlightening for the budding researchers especially. So now we'll start the discussion by requesting both of our panelists to tell us and the audience about their research field and how they were drawn to this research field. So I'll first come to you, Dr. Shaikat, and I would like you to share your thoughts and experience about this.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to this panel discussion. I'll try to keep it as entertaining as possible at the end of the day after some heavy science has gone through. I can say one thing that we do not have some sort of a conversion or some sort of an avatar that we go from a general student and then suddenly we become researchers. So research is something that we are all doing. I would say even a school student is doing or anybody is doing.
Yeah.
And in any profession, essentially, even somebody who is a journalist has to research and figure out about the topic of what they're going to discuss and stuff. And again, I would say, like, if I draw parallel situations with, say, journalism, which I'm not a journalist, but they are trying to figure out what's going on around the world, and they quickly have to figure out some of the background information as well as what's going on. And then sometimes they analyze or they have panel discussions like this and try to figure out with everybody's opinion. So my journey, I never thought about becoming a scientist per se, as would many of my colleagues and others would say the same thing, unless some specific person say. It so happened that one followed the other. I wanted to become a doctor when I was a kid, and then later on I kind of started fainting when I saw blood. And even till today, if somebody asked me to dissect a mouse, that's not in me. I would rather ask some students who are brave enough to do it for me. So I decided not to pick up medicine as a career. And then, as usual in Indian system, I thought of becoming an engineer then, because that's the alternate career that we all thought about.
Yeah.
Well, even now. So then I ended up getting into engineering, and I picked up a very fancy subject, which is called bioinformatics. This is around 2002, which at that point of time was very fancy. I don't know how I got a degree of engineering in bioinformatics, but anyway, I liked it with some computer science and something to do with biology. A mixture of them sounds very cool. But then I was very much fascinated into protein structure. So I was doing like in silico modeling, very like basic stuff. But then I was doing one of my summer training at the Baba Atomic Research Center, where I saw like people were doing X-ray crystallography. And it was sort of a mysterious thing for me because what I saw were like little specks of diffraction spots. And I was surprised, like here I am trying to predict protein structures from sequences and stuff. And these guys call themselves as experimentalists. And from little spots, they're getting into three-dimensional structure. How the hell is that happening? And that was a curiosity. Anyway, I ended up kind of trying to figure out a little bit. And then I thought, okay, this is not how it's going to work. I have to make my hand dirty. I have to figure out a way to do that. And what's the best way to learn that? So of course, naturally, I had to go for further studies. And then somehow I decided, okay, I'll go abroad for my PhD, because again, master's degree in US is very expensive. So what's the free ticket to go to US and do that is get into a PhD program, because they pay you for that, just like you guys are being paid right now to do science and to become a scientist. So I decided to do that and then learn structural biology in the way, and then one led to the other and so on and so forth. And then because I had this kind of an engineering background, as well as something that still makes me really excited about is how do molecular machines inside the cells work. There are little machineries that work in extreme precision. And if there is any kind of damage or disorder to these machineries, there are multiple of them in a cell, and that leads to diseases. So how do these machines function? We still don't know. I won't say as a scientist, I'm inventing anything. I'm trying to discover what's already present in nature. And that discovery is something that makes me every day when I'm trying to figure out something, or kind of as we understand, we realize that we understand only the tip of an iceberg. There is yet a lot that we need to figure out. Cell is a complex environment. An organism is even complex, where you have several billions of cells and stuff and other things that builds up this complexity. So at the end of the day, that's what drives me. In order to understand this, I love doing science. And as you become a mentor, I would say, or a PI, then you need a team. You alone cannot do all this work. So you need a team of people who are really excited in doing this, and that drives you. And if my profession is doing science, so naturally I'm a scientist in that way. And the fun part is, as a scientist, I'm paid to do whatever I want to do in terms of discovering new stuff and trying to understand the complex environment in a cell. We all use different angles or perspective to understand it. So I use structural biology coupled with other molecular biology and other methodologies, basically to determine three-dimensional structures of proteins under different conditions, whether outside the cell or inside the cell, and so on and so forth. There are geneticists who look from a genetics perspective. There are molecular biologists. I mean, we do a little bit of that too. So it's like different flavors to understand the same thing. We all try to do that. And Justice, who is moderating this session, has decided to embark on this journey along with me here at CCMB. So I just recently joined here. But it's a fun thing. So we wake up in the morning, we come to lab, we discuss science, we try to plan how we want to do it. It's not all a flat, excited level all the time. It's like a sine wave, so it goes up and down. Yes. So one thing I would suggest, I would tell everybody, choose a career that makes you really passionate about it, that you like. If you want to be a musician, be a musician. If you want to be a chef, be a scientist, whatever you want to be, just be. Do something which you're really passionate about. If only you're passionate about it, then even if it fails at a certain point of time, you can quickly come out of that kind of a lull or this thing and just keep on maintaining that excited state and just keep doing it. I mean, in a game of cricket, a team loses, but in the next, that doesn't mean that everybody just retires from cricket right away. Yeah. They go on for the next tournament and then they play again, or so on and so forth. And that winning spirit has to be there. And we are passionate about it. We love doing what we do. And that's why we just wake up every day in the morning, come to the lab, spend long hours doing experiments, interacting with excited scientists. And that's how our life is. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to know how interdisciplinary your journey was till now. And the last thing that you said, that we have to indulge ourselves in something that we are really passionate about. Yeah. So Zeba, my question will be the same to you. What drew you towards the field of research? And also if you could discuss with us about your research area.
Yeah. So hello all, and thanks for inviting. So actually Dr. Saikas has covered like almost all the point whatever I thought of talking today. So similar to his journey, my journey is also a little bit same. So as he said, like scientist, so it's not like how to how to become a scientist. There is a clear path or something, you run on that way and then you become a scientist, right? So like in childhood we all will be curious kids, right? So like that I was also a curious kid. I was asking a lot many questions to my parents or to my people around me. So most of the time I was getting answer and some of the time irritated, and so that's how like the query remains in you. Okay, so like here's the story. So I actually also wanted to be a doctor. So after my school I wrote for the exam, medical exam. I didn't get it. So then that time I really did not know that you can do research by doing PhD or by doing MSc BSc and go in that field. So basically, so with my senior suggestions and like my family support, I went for BSc MSc.
Yeah.
Then in BSc, first time I was doing experiments, so many experiments, right? Like culturing bacteria to doing biochemical experiments and all those things. And then I went to MSc, and MSc में, like in MSc, I got this opportunity to come to CCMB for summer training. So I did summer training with Dr. Raghunan Tirumalai. So there I did all those experiments which I was just reading about it, like ligation, all kind of molecular cloning experiments, protein purification, wing protein and estimating, all those things, culture work and all. So then, so at that time I was really interested in going for actual science. So basically when you do, like I am talking on the behalf of students, right? So when you do BSc and MSc, till then you are also not sure okay, you'll do PhD or not. You can go for any other ways also. But then in that summer training, when I came to CCMB, here there were like many things which I could explore, and that was the time when I decided that I'll come for PhD. I'll go for that. And the science basically. So science is the a way which gives you freedom or liberty to explore the unexplored things. And this is the thing like in which you can like every day you can work on some new thing. So I always wanted to do something which keeps moving, like which keeps one moving everyday basis. So basically, yeah. So that was my journey till here. So and then yeah. So after summer training, I went back to my college, university, and then at the end of MSc, I got this fellowship and all. And then I did not know what to do because I belong from Bihar, Patna. So there it was not so much exposure and all those things. So then I thought, what should I do? And that was like all universities exam and everything. The date was over. So then I called Raghu, so asking what should I do. Then he told me that you can come in here as walk-in candidate. So basically I went for walk-in interviews to CCMB and to IISc, and I got both the places. But then was the time where I had to decide whether to go to CCMB or to IISc. So CCMB, it has a very good way of this lab rotation thing. So there you can come if you don't have any previous designation that I have to do this work or I have to address this question, then this lab rotation helps you really well. Then during lab rotation, I chose this lab. So I don't know, like I was not so sure that I will go for infectious biology, but during lab rotation, I got some edge towards this field that I wanted to do this. So then I wanted, like I went for this lab, and then if you ask me about my work, so I work on basically malaria disease, which is caused by Yavasite plasmodium. So in human, it is basically 4 or 5 species which causes malaria. So we generally work on Plasmodium falciparum, which is human pathogen, and we culture the parasite in vitro in human RBCs basically. And I am addressing a question of identifying how cell cycle is regulated in Plasmodium falciparum, as the cell cycle is very peculiar, very different, very atypical from any other eukaryotic cell. So for the students, I will tell that my lab session is on 25th September. So if they want, they can join from 11:40 a.m. Yeah. So that is it. That is my journey. Yeah.
Nice hearing you both.
Coming back to Saket, I would like to know in this today's world, what do you feel is the responsibility of the scientist as such? Once you've come to that position now, so what do you feel is a scientist's role in this society?
So I would say like some of the luxuries of this 21st century or whatever we are doing, including say we are interacting over this kind of an online session, even if we are facing this pandemic. So every aspect, every step that we take today, we rely on either a scientific discovery or a scientific invention, or trying to understand complex nature, the complexities of nature, through an angle of science. We are facing a big pandemic, right? And if we wouldn't have figured out like what viruses are or what kind of viruses and the extent of studies that have happened within a very short period of time, we wouldn't have been able to understand this disease per se, and then come up with therapeutics like vaccines and stuff. So I would say, like, as scientists, what are we doing? We are basically truth seekers. We are trying to figure out the truth, or trying to understand how things work, or how things are basically our own existence here. Like, how are we surviving? How do organisms, basically survive? They cope up with diseases, or they fight different kind of diseases in general. How we come up with therapeutics or solutions to problems, be it climate change or anything. So as scientists, our responsibility is basically to try and understand how nature in general operates, come up with solutions to problems that we are doing. And we are truth seekers. So we do not try to come up with answers just like that. We try to do experiments, we try to validate stuff, we come up with correct answers to certain problems that we think quote unquote correct at this point of time. And later on, we may be proved wrong by some other experiment. That is perfectly fine. And that's how science progresses. And basically, that's one aspect. Second of all, from my perspective, I would say as a faculty right now, it's a lot more challenge, because it's not just say a career for me, it's also trying to figure out a way to train the next generation scientists that is students. So it's no longer, so when I was a student, I was just focused on my own experiment. How would my experiments work? How would I get all the results that I needed, and basically graduate and move ahead in life? And then as a postdoc also, you basically try to do the same. That is, after PhD, you try to get more experience so that you can get a job of your choice, that is AKA to do science somewhere that you are interested in doing. But now when you come to this position, it's no longer only your science. Of course, in a broader perspective of a lab, we want to do that. Now it's also, how do I manage people? How do I run a team? It's a ship, and you're the captain of the ship. And essentially, a captain alone can't navigate a ship through the murky waters of oceans and stuff. I need the sailors and navigators and everybody else who can basically help in guiding that ship and making the ship go, with me kind of assisting them in this journey. So that's basically the role of a scientist right now, is I have ideas, I have plans, but to execute those ideas and discover new things and stuff, I have to even work with a team of people, and each one of them have to be excited. So again, it becomes my role also to keep them excited and provide the caffeine or the chocolate or incentive to basically keep them excited, so that, okay, no matter how things may fail, and one day we will overcome that, and we'll progress with science and discovery and stuff, so that there is a next generation of good scientists who can then carry forth this work at some point of time. And one thing I would just like to add is basically, one good thing about our profession is, no matter what profession you choose, you do something and then it's gone, it becomes a part of history. In science, we discover something, and then when you discover something, we publish it, or we have a structure in case of structural biology, or we publish that work. One day we will all be gone from this earth, but our work will remain, and that publication will remain. And if you're a student or whatever, with that first author publication, or you get your first structure, you have that deposited somewhere, and then science progresses based on that. That may become a kind of a stepping stone for the rest of other discoveries and stuff, or for other people. But that is the aha moment. So rather than just getting paid and kind of living as a profession, another beautiful thing is, whatever you discover, it's your discovery that stays for the rest of history or mankind. And that will be archived, or that remains as a journal, in the form of a published paper or something which is available to the public, and that remains. And that's what I think is kind of something unique about our profession, is that when we discover something, that remains associated with us, or that becomes our basically a product of our discovery or something. So yeah.
You are on the progress of getting a PhD and doing science. What is your impression about this aspect of how you, being a PhD student, can impact the society, or bring about a change in a certain way in any
I think
your voice is not
your
clear.
voice is not clear. Yeah.
Can you just repeat?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Just repeat the question.
Yeah, so what I meant was you're now in a stage where you're almost done with your PhD and you're doing science. And I wanted to know what is your take on this aspect of how you can be impactful to the society, any little measure that you can.
Yeah. So, as Saika said, what means here is the work which you do, like the research which you have done, and it will be here. Okay. So, if your question is about how this basic research and translational research is connected, basically, so I can give example, like if we study about, like in the textbook in our colleges and school, we read about genetics and all basic biology things. But when we do research, so if we take example of genetics, so if we know in detail about genetics, we can solve real ecological problems, right? Like so one of my friend Mihir, he is in Lacon, so he has done one nice research about gibbons. So what he has found that earlier in India, it was known that there are two species of gibbons, but because of this genetics study and all, he found out that those two are not two different species; those are only one species. One species at two different geographical locations. So basically, if we see like how basic science and translational science is related, so this, like in this context, we can link the two. Or like we read about growing cells and all those things, and then comes in the translational biology, in wound healing and all those stem cell research, it can be applied. And like, I'm sorry, I didn't get your questions correctly, so can you, like, can Korak you ask the question again?
Just I'll just rephrase the question. Like it's a very important thing that we know before going into a field, that what should we expect from the field. So the thing is, how should one go about if he has in his or her mind to become a scientist? Like from your journey, you can give
so
us
how to choose field? Basically,
exactly.
how so basically the question is how to choose a field.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So that is very important question. So when as a student we come, we go for a lab, then we have to always look for what are you really interested in that field, and whatever question is being asked by that particular lab or by that particular field, is that interests you. If it doesn't interest you sufficiently, then you should not go about it. So basically, like, for example, I can say I was so much interested in immunology while coming, like in my till my MSc. But when I came here, I rotated in different labs, and then I selected infectious biology. So in infectious biology, I can apply again the knowledge from immunology, right? But the question is important. Like the question which you are going to address, that is really, really important. So that you have to choose very carefully.
Okay, just one thing. I think, Zeba, your video is freezed, so you can try it once again.
Okay, like, is it okay now?
No, not yet.
I can't see you guys moving. So everything is stuck on the screen. I don't know what happened.
So you can just stop the video once and then again try it once again.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, so we'll move forward with the discussion. It was a very nice one, what Zeba said about choosing a field when we are especially looking forward for options. So, Saikat sir, we actually, whatever we want to do in our fields or whatever field we like to go in, we obviously will face different challenges. So, I think all the panelists and all the students here would want to know that what were the kind of challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so I'll give a very philosophical answer to this. Life itself is a challenge. Every step we take has its own perils. Anyway, coming to the point. So challenges. We face challenges in many ways doing science. First and foremost, sometimes you come up with a hypothesis and that hypothesis may be completely wrong. So be willing to accept defeat in that sense. You should not be like completely demoralized in that aspect. Think out of the box. come up with ways of improvising certain times. I mean, sometimes you want to work on a system. There may be challenges, either those raw materials may not be available, or you're trying to purify a protein in a certain way, and you are unable to express it or kind of get the protein from another source. So come up with innovative ways. I mean, that's what we do in science. And that's the invention part of us, is coming up with ways by which we can tackle these problems and come up with solutions to these problems, and then move ahead with our experiments or move ahead with our discoveries that we do. First and foremost, as I mentioned, that in terms of challenges. So from my life, I mean, I can say like I didn't have any formal training in immunology or cell biology in general, because I didn't go by a conventional path of doing a BSc, MSc, and then going. So it was an engineering degree. I had more of computer science and other physics and stuff, a little bit of life science here and there, and whatever we need. I mean, protein structures always fascinate me. So even till date, I try to kind of catch up with the field by either reading and also listening from my own students. So I learn a lot from, actually, Justice, who is here, has very strong cell biology and molecular biology background. And he's teaching me every day from stuff that I didn't know about and things. And we are all kind of learning from each other. I mean, Justice, you don't have to nod your head, but that's the truth. So be open to, I mean, you have to figure out a solution and be open to any kind of suggestion. As scientists, we all have our own egos, but we have to kind of level it down as a student, because we don't know. First and foremost, we don't know everything. And that's why we are scientists. We are trying to know every single day new things. So challenges that comes, we have to just basically face it, come up with a solution to it, either by finding out an alternative strategy as to how we do. And another challenge I would mention as a scientist that we often face is getting scooped. Unfortunately, science today has become a kind of like a competition. I'm not trying to demoralize anybody, but it is sort of like, because it's discovery. We discover new stuff. If somebody else has discovered it, then the value of your work sort of comes down. So that is the reason why it's very important to have kind of multiple avenues or multiple, I would say, perspective to looking at a problem. So even if somebody comes up with some sort of a solution, okay, we can, what can we do next? We don't get stagnated by, we have discovered something and that is the end to something. So we discover something and then we move ahead. So based on whatever we discovered, we are trying to figure out what's the next, I mean, again, questions come up. So simultaneously, you should be prepared to work effectively and kind of work in a way that you can essentially answer that problem quickly as much as possible. So the problem of if you get scooped also, don't completely get disheartened. There are ways by which you can add value to that work. So essentially do a few more experiments, discover the next step if possible, and then essentially move ahead with that and publish your work in a good journal, and you get a discovery from there. There are other kind of challenges which we always face, like every place, every institute, every country. So I came from US, I was there for about 14.5 years. I did my entire research career there. And then I decided to come back to India. India has its own unique challenge. US has its own unique challenge. But if I just complain all the time that, okay, I don't get this, or if I want to always compare, like this is how it is. For example, many of us, like when we are getting into college and stuff, we stay in hostel. We have to eat mess food. We cannot expect the food prepared by our mother or at home or what we like to be always there in the hostel. But we have to kind of get used to it. Once in a while, you have to get some pocket money or something and go outside and eat and refresh your palate or enjoy some of the foods or something, or you improvise a way of cooking Maggie in the hostel over iron or something. So these are ways which we overcome challenges. So think about life like that. Every place has its own unique challenge. There are some of these challenges are really serious, but some of them we can try to figure out ways of bypassing them or overcoming them and trying to move ahead with our science and stuff and what we do every day. So that's why excitement and being passionate in your field is very important.
Very rightly said, sir. So Zeba, you joined again. Thank you for that. And we'll just rephrase the question again for you. No problem. We'll just put the question again for you. If you can add something after this, that what have been some of the challenges that you have faced till now in your journey, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, so there were like many challenges in many contexts. So if you like basically when you are a student, like 10th standard student or something, then the challenge comes what to take, what to go ahead with, like arts or science. So that is a basic question which comes in every 10th standard student's mind, like where to go, arts or science, and in science as well, like what to choose, mathematics or biology or both or something like that. So one challenge is that. And then if you don't get medicine as an option, then where to go, where to start. And then so for me, all these challenges were there. So I want to say one thing, like when I was doing BSc, so most of my friends are going for banking. So that option was there. So I also opted for that for some brief time. So I asked my father, and he said, first he said no, you should go for whatever you have chosen. But then after my so much drama, he said, okay, you go with it. So I went for coaching and all. But then after doing like going for a 2 months or something, I felt it. Maybe it's not boring for everyone, but I felt so bored, like doing everyday same thing, solving same type of questions and just mugging up things. So basically, so that was like in choosing the career, that was a struggle, like where to go. My all friends are going for something and I am choosing some different thing which no one is coming with me, or like very few are coming and those are not my friends basically. So that was one of the challenge. And then yes, again, when you do like when you're doing MSc, then there was a very different situation, not different, difficult situation, where you have to choose whether you go for PhD or you go for some other industrial thing.
Yes.
So that was another challenge. So after overcoming all those challenges, when you come for PhD and you selected some lab, then the real challenges come, right? So you have selected some lab, you have so many things to do, so much work to do to get your PhD, and also to contribute something to the society and to the field in which you're working. Then comes challenges of the model on which you're working. So that is like, for me, the malaria model is a real tough system. So but yeah, so if you ask me over how to overcome on those challenges, so basically we have to be real patient in this. So whatever comes, you have to tackle it with real patience, and you have to give time, give try, so many tries, and then basically discuss it. So discussion with scientific like scientific community, as well as the in general layman language people. So they help a lot. Basically, whenever you're stuck in your field for something, so then like what I do always, I discuss with many friends, and those friends who are not from this community. So some suggestions from them also help, right? And some days you will feel so much depressed about something and something. So there comes being in one career, it is good, but then you should have some other option as well from the main uh, path, right? So whenever you're like distracted or depressed or something like that, you should do something else to cheer you up, and then you come back and you do your work. So basically, like involving yourself in different things to go on, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so show patience and perseverance and stay connected to all. That is the motto.
Yes, stay connected. Yeah.
Okay, so we
Bharat,
have a
I
few.
want to
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I want
Sure.
to ask. I want to say something, like the students who are attending, 139 participants are there. I can see they are gradually decreasing, so they can ask questions if they have any. You can just unmute or something, and they can directly ask the
Sure.
question.
You can raise your hand, or you can ask the type also the question in the Q&A box, and we'll try to address as many as possible.
Yeah. So there are a
It's
few
more about them,
questions.
right?
Yeah.
So
So
one
one question says,
so
he or she wants to become a scientist.
and say what kind of a course should I take to become a
Scientist.
So this is
very
uh,
Very
general
general
question.
question.
so this is to be addressed by whom?
Yeah, any of
Yeah,
Any of
Ziva,
you.
you go
you can
ahead.
go first. Yeah.
Tiger, you can start. No,
No,
not
Ziva, please go ahead. You have a much more this thing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So basically, whoever has asked this question, so so if you are in MSc or in BSc, or you are doing BTech or something, then like just don't blindly go for anything. Don't just blindly go for a with exam, CSIR preparation or something. First, like take a hands-on training, do summer training, do dissertation, and then see whether you are interested in that or not. Because I have many students, like when in my this journey, I am 50 student, so many people have worked with me. So many people, when they come with something, okay, in the mind, but when they do real experiments and when they are really in the lab, so you have to discuss, you have to present, you have to do work, you have to analyze, and so many things. So after having this hands-on training, you will really get to know whether you are really want to do this or not. So that is what I will suggest, that go for some hands-on training somewhere. and then keep discussing upon in your peer group as well as with your seniors and teachers, and then decide and come. Just don't come blindly. So I want to add one point. So I have this discussion with a new student somewhere. So I asked, like, why did you come here? So he said that now government is paying 31,000 GRF and 35,000 SRF. So that is not the way. You can get much more than this in any other field, or maybe less than this. But don't come for like, now GRF salary is more, SRF salary is more, so you should come, or something like that. If you are really interested, you come, because this field really requires patience and hard work.
Saikat, if you might want to add something to this.
So I think Zeba rightly said what's required in this field. So I would just like to add a little bit from a different perspective as a faculty.
Yes, sure.
So I just recently participated in the interview process for some of the PhD students here in CCMB, as well as I have been involved abroad also when I was a faculty there. So one of the things that is emphasized upon is not just what grade you are getting, or what scores, or what kind of a CGPA or GPA you are getting. That is important, because that is basically your basic foundation. You need to know something. You cannot just jump into a field of research without having certain background information. But what people are looking into, or what scientists are looking into, at least somebody who has some sort of an experience and has gone through, as Zeba mentioned, that you have either done some sort of a training, and Zeba herself demonstrated that through her own experience, or kind of explained it, that she participated in summer training and stuff. That made her excited about coming into research, the kind of institution where she wanted to be, or the kind of field. And that is very important, because when you write, say if somebody is applying for going abroad for PhD and stuff, one of the things that is looked into more carefully is the kind of research background. Nobody is expecting one to have every single training, but some sort of a research background, or some sort of an exposure to research, so that person knows what it takes to become a scientist or a PhD student, or go through this journey, because it is filled with, as Zeba rightly mentioned, a lot of patience is required. We have failures. Not every single experiment works. Not every single approach that you take for answering a problem works. So you have to be patient. You have to know how to troubleshoot, and you have to come up with solutions. So it's important to at least get an exposure somewhere after your graduation. Maybe spend 6 months or 1 year being like a project associate in some lab, getting an exposure of how a real lab functions, how people are working, participate in how to even read a scientific paper. That's very important. How to analyze a paper, read, how to even present your scientific work. You get a lot of exposure, or a lot of training, or get some sort of a background experience. And then you can make this decision whether or not you really want to pursue a career of research, or you want to take up another career of your choice. And everything is fine. I mean, nobody should be forcing you to take up a career. It should be your own interest, and you like it, and that's why you ended up in this field. So that's very important.
So I think just want to add something. So I think any course, like if it's related to science, and if we have the really patience to do research, then anybody can go to the research, irrespective of whether I'm doing physical or mathematics or biological science. And especially in this current era, the biological science is so open to everyone from the multiple disciplines, including mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology itself. So I think it all depends on how passionate you are about science. That's very important. And to me, it's the teachers all over, from our schools to colleges and the university. Teachers inspire a lot. People like to, okay, I want to do immunology because my immunology teacher was so good. I was impressed. So that also influenced a lot. But what actually we like, what actually I'm passionate about, that's very important to go to the research. And yeah, any course, if you are in the science stream, any course, whether you're taking physical science, chemical science, or mathematics, anybody can pursue. And especially CCMB is all about the biological science, and CCMB is open to everyone from any science disciplines, whether you're from mathematics or chemistry or physics background. In fact, in terms of genetics, these are all, nowadays is all about the informatics science. It's just not the biology, and mathematics, computations are a big part of that. And I myself working on those areas.
And coming from a biological background, sometimes I feel very difficult to adapt because I have a very less knowledge about the mathematics and computational skill. But since
Okay, so
basically
so there was a follow-up question related to the question raised earlier. So
Justice, can you speak closer to the microphone? It's very hard to hear what you're saying.
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, I've done my bachelor's in science in the field of biotech. Now I'm not sure what to do, whether to do a master's or an integrated PhD or go abroad and do a PhD directly, keeping in mind that COVID is around. My practical experience is very low. So what advice do you like to give me? Saikat, could you go first?
So yeah, just as Seva mentioned, as well as I think I mentioned in my previous, the topic that we were discussing recently, you do not have to rush into or jump into. I know there is an age factor and all these things come into play. If you want to go abroad, age is not a problem. In Indian context, yes, age is a thing. But anyway, I mean, I'm considering that everybody is young and you have a certain margin of age that you can still kind of spend for doing something productive. So in that context, go to a lab, spend at least a year or two. I would say two, because 1 year is not enough to learn everything. If you want to get a good exposure, spend 2 years into a lab doing a project associate, take up a project associateship. You will get a lot of experience trying to learn. And also like a place like CCMB, I'm already seeing. And as I said, I myself am learning a lot from just interacting with students as well as participating in various like events and discussions and stuff. So you get a chance to actually learn a lot in terms of what it takes to be a good scientist and stuff. And then I think 2 years is enough time for you to also decide whether that's a career choice you want to make or not, and whether you want to stick around in science in general. And you can switch over. I mean, career options are not that limited. Coming to COVID, I think everything is opened up right now. CCMB, we had a bunch of students who just recently joined. So that is going on. Everything is now going on normal. I understand that this has been, I mean, this has taken a toll on many of us and including students generally, where you didn't get a practical experience. I would suggest go to a lab, at least spend some time trying to learn. I mean, there's project associateship. I think tomorrow there is an exam that CCMB is conducting for that. And these opportunities come up, not just CCMB, but there are multiple labs in India, good labs in India, where you can go and basically get an exposure to science. And then if you decide, many of these places have like, you can just basically have walk-in interviews and stuff later on for your PhD, or there are options that comes up. And it's applicable anywhere, like whether you want to do a PhD here or not. And again, whether you really want to do a PhD or a career of this sort is something you'll get to know when you basically dip yourself into that pool of scientists. So yeah.
There's another question.
Uh,
How many research centers in India are there, and what type of exams are there for you to become a scientist?
yeah.
I think Zeba should take that.
So how many research centers are there that you can find on Google? There are many state-wise. And what kind of exam you can write? So basically, if you are going for PhD, so you have to get a fellowship. So for fellowship, you can write CSIR exam, DBT exam, ICMR. Again, then exam conducted by TIFR and NPBS, that is JGE bills. Through that, you can apply to TIFR, NCBS, as well as many other institutes, including CCMB. So you don't have to write the exam, you can just directly come for the interview. And apart from all these, if you want to try for BARC, there you can, that is also an option. You can write exam for that as well. So there you can either be hired as a scientist, or you can go for a PhD or something. So when we were in MSc, we were doing all these things. So that is it. These all kind of exams you can, or you can directly go for, once you have the fellowship, then you can directly apply to the institute, institute by institute, like CCMB, IC, all those things. You can go give exam, like go for the exam. Yeah, that is it.
Yes,
There's a question addressed to you.
How have you followed scientific methods as a scientist?
Come again? Which question? I can read it from here. Is it in chat box?
Yeah,
It's in the Q&A.
Q&A. 1 second. I can read it. how you follow the scientific method.
Yeah.
Scientific methods as a scientist. Okay, so this is like scientific method we follow every day. So if you're asking about working ethics and other stuff, so whatever you are doing, you have to follow all those things. So more to like students level. So if you are doing some molecular biology experiment, then you have to first, so for doing or conducting any experiment or doing any working on anything, you should first read about it, read carefully, read as much as you can, and then go for the thing. So there are methods available everywhere. So there are methods from companies, you can follow that and all those things. And if you are going for any specific, if you're doing any specific experiments related to animal work or culture work, then you have to follow all the ethics. So that is what, if I understood the question correct.
So yeah, okay. So it was a great session indeed, almost an hour or so. I'm sure this discussion was quite helpful and fruitful for not only the young researchers or for us or as well. So any Saikat sir, any parting or concluding remarks from your side?
I would just say follow where your heart takes you or whatever you're passionate about. And I wish everybody all the best. I understand it has been hard time for all of you guys and all of you folks, including us as scientists. So I would say just hang in there, have patience, be passionate about what you are doing. There are multiple opportunities and you don't know what surprises life comes with. So just proceed with whatever you're passionate about and just follow your passion. That's what I would say.
Okay, Zeba, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, like similar to Saket only. So Saikat only. So basically, like follow whatever your heart say, and like discuss among your peer group and your teachers and your seniors, and go for it if you really want to do it. And you can also contact us through various means if you want any help. To all the students I'm addressing. So you can write to CCMB and we can help you out in this YouTube session. You can ask as many questions you want, and we can write back to you later also. Yeah, and all the very best, teachers.
Yeah, thank you to both of our panelists, Saikat and Zeba, and thank you for enriching us with your views and thoughts on this topic. Secondly, I would also like to thank the attendees who have attended this meeting. We are very sorry that all the questions could not be addressed due to constraint of times. We will be replying you within the Q&A box only, if at all any questions are yet to be addressed. I would also like to thank Somdatta who is our science communication officer, for guiding us throughout this whole process. And last but not at all the least, I would like to give a huge shout out to the CCMB IT team and the whole CCMB team who are working behind the screens, and they are for their relentless hard work only all these events every year become successful. So a big thank you to all of you. So tomorrow, as we know, we'll be starting again tomorrow, that is 24th September. We'll be starting from 10:30 a.m. With another set of interesting and exciting lab sessions. And at the end of tomorrow, we'll be having another interesting panel discussion, which is titled How to Combat Rumors and Fake News, and what is the reliable source for information for general public. So till then, we hope you all will sign in again and join with us to make this event a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, organizing team. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.